Welcome to Vintage Weights PGH. This is the Rogue Ohio Power Bar. It's become a classic barbell in a relatively short amount of time. In this video, I'm going to go over all the characteristics of it, what I think of it for better or worse, because I've been using it for 6 years now. That's right, this is a 6-year review video. And then finally, just talk about who is best served with this barbell versus some other bars that might be on the market. Whether you decide to buy a Rogue Ohio Power Bar or another barbell, please consider using my affiliate links, which are in the description of this video. By shopping through my links, it doesn't increase the price at all for you. The price stays the same. But it does earn a small commission for Vintage Weights PGH, and that's what keeps these videos going. The Ohio Power Bar actually isn't Rogue's first power bar. Rogue had the Rogue Power Bar, which had a 155,000 PSI tensile strength, versus the improved Ohio Power Bar that came out in 2014 at 205,000 tensile strength. The Rogue Ohio Power Bar actually debuted at a lower price than Rogue's original Power Bar, and Rogue continued to produce it for a little while at the same time. They also had the Westside Power Bar, which they produced along the same time as well. That was in conjunction with Westside Barbell. When it comes to the Rogue Ohio Power Bar, the increase in tensile strength, as well as the development of the knurling and the name change, created a classic, because this knurling, Volcano Knurling, has become a favorite among people in the weightlifting community, and the powerlifting community, I should really say.
What's up, guys? I sent you the specs. You see, we called the first one the Rogue Power Bar, and we'd like something a little more artistic, a little more memorable this time around.
Sure.
The Powerful Bar. Law and Order PSI. Strength isn't a crime. Great promo line. Joe and the Volcano.
No.
The Bill Bar.
Bill Burr?
No, the Bill Bar. Bill, as in the man who owns this company. I don't think he'd like that. The PB&J Bar, because PB for Power Bar.
What's J stand for?
Yeah, we didn't think of that. Well, what are some competing bars called?
Texas Power Bar.
Huh, this is tough.
Ohio Power Bar?
Genius! Yes!
We'll definitely get into the knurling in a couple of minutes here, but first, let's just talk about the main characteristics here that make this a power bar. If you're watching this video and you're not really sure whether you should buy a power bar or just an all-around weightlifting bar, some type of hybrid bar, Rogue actually has a bar called the Hybrid Power Bar, this bar still might be for you. If you're watching this video and you're a serious powerlifter, then you already probably know something about power bars. So here's the deal. It breaks down to the 3 main lifts. You've got squat, bench, and deadlift. And that's what this bar is designed to do well. It doesn't mean that this bar can't be used for other lifts, but it just means that this bar has a 29mm diameter. It has aggressive knurling compared to an average barbell. It has center knurling for squatting, and it also has the sleeve length in terms of loadable sleeve length and bushings in the sleeve rather than bearings so that it spins slower, which is ideal for powerlifting. I'm not a serious powerlifter, however, most of my training, even though it's general fitness training, revolves around the big 3 lifts, and this is my main barbell when it comes to modern bars. At least it has been the past 6 years. This bar is stainless steel, the one that I have in front of you here. However, Rogue has a variety of finishes, so before we get into the knurling, let's talk about finish, because that's really where the price point is going to differ when it comes to shopping for a Rogue Ohio Power Bar. Hold on. I'm actually going to interrupt myself here and say that before we get to finishes, there are a couple different Rogue Ohio Power Bars. You have the aggro bars that get even more aggressive than this one. I'm not going to go too much into those because it's pretty self-explanatory, and in about 2 minutes when you see the knurling on this one, you can just imagine to yourself something even more sharp than that. They also have the 20 kilogram version, which has a thinner inner collar and weighs 20 kilograms rather than an exact 45 pounds. If you're into competitive powerlifting, that might be ideal for you. Basement Brandon has gone through a nice video of the 20 kilogram and the differences between that and the 45-pound version. When it comes to this version of the Rogue Ohio Power Bar, which I consider to be the standard version, these are the finishes that you can choose from, starting with the lowest priced one of bare steel. I'm no stranger to bare steel barbells. I have many vintage bars and a couple modern bars that are bare steel. They are going to develop rust. That's going to happen. So you have to take care of them, and it's pretty easy to take care of them with a barbell rescue brush. So let's check that out for a second. If you live in Florida, where it's very humid, you're going to have to use this more often than if you live here in Pittsburgh. The barbell rescue brush opens up and then makes it really easy to apply a protective coating. $275 is what the bare steel barbell will run you. So if that's your budget, then it makes a great option for you. Just know that you need to pick up some oil and a brush to go along with it. The next option would be $295. So for $20 more, you can choose between the black zinc and the E-coat. Both the black zinc and the E-coat come with a bright zinc sleeve. And between the two, my personal preference and my advice to you is to go with the E-coat. I've actually never had an E-coat barbell. However, I've had black zinc barbells and they get scratched up really quickly. That's annoying. You just dropped $295 plus tax and shipping on a barbell, and a week later it looks like a cat got into your gym and scratched it up. And that's just from regular use. I'm not a fan of that. E-coat tends to hold up a lot more. I have Strength Co plates which have an E-coat on them, and I know it's probably not the same proprietary blend, but what I'm getting at is if you are a very in tune with the knurling, the bar becomes part of my hand type of lifter, and you want something more than bare steel in terms of corrosion protection, then E-coat is going to serve you a little better than black zinc. Moving up from there, we really take a jump in price because we go up to Cerakote and stainless. So we go from $295 for the black zinc or the E-coat, and we jump up to $355. So we have a $60 jump to the Cerakote. Cerakote is a military grade application of protection that also, similar to black zinc, suffers from scratching sometimes. It tends to depend on the manufacturer. I've never had a Cerakote barbell from Rogue that I've used long term. I had the Rogue deadlift bar in a green Cerakote that I used for about a year. I wouldn't really call that extremely long term like the 6 years I've used this barbell, but it was long enough that it didn't scratch as often as black zinc. However, I did pick up a couple scratches. The biggest criticism of Cerakote that you'll see in any barbell review video is just like I mentioned before, that since it's a coating, it's not going to have as sharp a knurling, which is something that with a power bar means a lot. Here's my breakdown on that, and I'll say this in an upcoming video for my Rep Double Black Diamond that is Cerakote. Unless you are obsessed with barbells, you are not going to necessarily notice the difference between a Cerakote and a stainless barbell's knurling. I know a lot of you are going to just light me up in the comments for this, so just hear me out. What I'm getting at is this. The same people that will light me up in the comments are probably the people that are either extremely serious powerlifters or they are obsessed with barbells. They have a dozen barbells in their gym and they use them enough that they can detect a difference in terms of the knurling. But if you're an average lifter, and even if you're a competitive power lifter that just wants a solid barbell, you don't need a dozen barbells in your gym, and you want that barbell to have some protection against corrosion, and you want to save 60 some dollars because the next price jump from Cerakote to stainless is going to be another $60. We're going from $355 up to $415. Then, yeah, Cerakote will work for you. You're not going to necessarily have the bar slipping out of your hands all of a sudden because you went with Cerakote rather than stainless. Now, with that said, if you haven't noticed, Rogue employed the same pricing model that I experience when I go to the movie theater and I try to buy popcorn. I really only need like a medium popcorn, but then they're like, oh, for $2 more, get a large. And I'm like, all right, fine, I'll get a large popcorn. Oh, for $2 more, you can get this bucket. Fine, I'll get the bucket. Oh, for $2 more, it's a limited edition bucket. Okay, that's basically what's happening here. You're going from like, oh, cool, $295, I can get this E-coat and the bright zinc sleeves. Awesome. For $60 more, you can get Cerakote. Oh, well, that's 4 color options, and I do like the color red. For $60 more, you can get the best. You can get stainless.
Wait, I'm gonna interrupt myself again. There's actually another option that Rogue snuck in here. For $395, you can get a stainless steel shaft with matte black sleeves. The matte black sleeves are kind of like the Duracoat sleeves of Rep Fitness bars. So they're supposed to hold up against scratching. It's not like having powder coat on the sleeve. But for $395, that makes sense compared to a Cerakote bar. Like, okay, I'll pay another $40 and get stainless. But now we fall into that popcorn scenario again, because if I'm gonna pay up $40 to get a stainless bar with the matte black sleeves, for $20 more, I can just get stainless steel sleeves. And that takes you to the top price point of $415 for a fully stainless barbell.
So, I don't know. It seems kind of like the popcorn scenario at the movie theater, like you just keep going up for 60 bucks. But having used a stainless bar and having chosen a stainless bar, I can at least speak to that. So let's get into the stainless option, the highest priced option at $415 for the Rogue Ohio Power Bar. You know how a couple minutes ago I talked about the barbell rescue brush and the oil and maintenance in terms of your bare steel barbell? Well, you don't exactly need that with stainless. The bar that you see right here, I have not cleaned in 6 years. I know that sounds unbelievable, and to be straightforward, I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm in a basement gym, not a garage gym, so this is temperature controlled. However, it's pretty awe-striking that there's just a bunch of fingerprints and things and maybe some specks of the UMHW plastic in the knurling right where it hits, and that's about it. This thing hasn't rusted, it hasn't turned some crazy shade of orange or brown. It is still looking like a great barbell. So there'll be some variance in terms of your local weather and where your gym is located. However, stainless is the top option for a reason. It's virtually stainless. It may rust over time, but it'll need far less maintenance than one of the lesser finishes. And the other huge selling point is that stainless doesn't have a coating. Stainless steel gives you the hand to bar connection that those elite lifters and those barbell obsessed people really crave. And that brings me back to why I purchased this version in the first place. Reason number one is that I wanted the best. I was really becoming obsessed with barbells at the time, and that's continued. And then reason number two is, to be honest, my mom bought me this barbell as a gift. Aww. I know, pretty awesome mom, right? So I was debating between the versions and buying them and just chatting with my mother at the time, and even though I'm an adult and I was married with children, Mom still likes to treat me sometimes, and she bought me this barbell for Christmas that year. So that made the decision for me. If I was buying it on my own, and if all the options existed that exist right now, I probably would have gone with the E-coat, because at the time, my budget would have allowed for somewhere around $300 for a barbell. And like I mentioned, black zinc versus E-coat versus bare steel, I probably would have gone with E-coat. You have to decide what's best for your budget, and you have to decide how patient you are if you want to keep on saving your money until you get up to $415 to get the stainless. That's up to you. You also might be blessed with a mom who surprises you with a barbell as a Christmas gift. Who knows? At the beginning of this video, I went over the history of Rogue's power bars to include the development of the Ohio power bar, but I skipped over an important development, and that happened fairly recently. A couple years ago, Rogue improved the design of the sleeves on this bar to eliminate some axial and radial movement, meaning that it's not as clanky and not as loud when you drop it, and that the sleeves don't move as much. My version is version 1. However, the current version looks identical, it just has a slightly different internal design of the sleeve to make it tighter and improve upon it. Other than that, the knurling is the same, and everything else that I show you today is the same, and the bar that you'll get from Rogue if you choose to purchase one is actually better than my barbell. Even though as a vintage weights collector, I kind of like having version 1. That's right, first gen right here, collector's item. The Rogue Ohio Power Bar is 86.5 inches long, and it has a loadable sleeve length of 16.25 inches. That's plenty of room for the average lifter and for the power lifter. It easily fits onto my Rogue Monster Light rack with plenty of clearance in terms of the plates and the uprights. And in terms of aesthetic features, the end of the barbell has what's become an iconic end cap, the Rogue Ohio Power Bar end cap. It is a sticker on a cap that's attached with a snap ring, and since the release of it, Rep has upped the game in terms of end caps, but the logo itself with the state of Ohio bordered is pretty cool. It bears mentioning that there was a company and is a company called Texas Power Bars that already has a state outline as a logo. I can't help but notice the similarities that Rogue chose to call their power bar the state. Ohio Power Bar? Genius! Yes! The same way Texas Power Bars did, and used the outline of the state the same way Texas Power Bar did, but that's neither here nor there at this point because this bar's been out for 11 years and people choose what they like. And when it comes down to it, the biggest criticism of Texas Power Bars, now that they've increased to 29mm option, is just the looseness, the sloppiness of the sleeve attachment. We'll see if they improve that. So back to the Rogue Ohio Power Bar. The end of the sleeve is also beveled to make loading plates a little bit easier. On the inner collar, they've beveled both sides for aesthetic purposes as well. And that brings us to what most of you really care the most about, the knurling. So why are people obsessed with knurling? Well, it comes down to just the function of the barbell. The knurling is what touches your hands, and that's what keeps the bar in your hands. And when you're talking about powerlifting, you're talking about higher weights being lifted, and with the greater weight, the greater risk of the bar slipping out of your hands. So you want that connection to stick. And this knurling really has become one of the most popular knurlings in the game. Rogue employs a volcano knurling. The two basic knurling styles would be mountain and volcano. The difference is just like it sounds. A mountain shape is a peak, whereas if you cut off the top and there's a crater formation, that's a volcano. And that's exactly what Rogue did. Rogue puts in the mountains and then cuts off the tops to form a volcano. There's actually more points of contact with the volcano knurling because if you zoom in, you'll see that it has 4 points of contact at that top point of the volcano. And then the other thing about it is that it doesn't dig into your hands as much as a mountain knurling. So for example, a Texas Power Bar has mountain knurling, and at the teeth per inch rate that Texas Power Bar uses, it is perceivably a little more aggressive, and for some people, a little too aggressive. So the Rogue Ohio Power Bar comes in at 16 teeth per inch, and with the volcano knurling and 16 teeth per inch, that's the sweet spot for most lifters. I say most because it's really a highly personal and just a personal preference type of decision when it comes to knurling. I found this to be very aggressive when I first bought it because I was using like a very worn out generic barbell. This was my first barbell that had quality knurling. I had a couple vintage bars that had next to no knurling, and I had like a cap weight set, 300-pound weight set barbell that had only the slightest of knurling. So if you're stepping up from those types of barbells, a really old barbell or a generic barbell, then this is going to feel aggressive. If you're buying the Rogue Ohio Power Bar and you've been using another modern power bar, then I would rate this on a scale of 1 to 10 to be around like a 6.5 to 7 in terms of aggressiveness. Hence why Rogue has the aggro bars that are more aggressive than this one. I like that level of aggressiveness with knurling because this makes for a great daily driver barbell. You don't want to be tearing up your hands every day when you're lifting, so if this is going to be your daily barbell, this is a good option. I had mentioned the Rep Double Black Diamond earlier because it has similar price points, so I have a sneaking suspicion a lot of you will be comparing and comparison shopping for a barbell between Rogue and Rep. The biggest difference in knurling is just the size of the knurling. Rep's is a little more concentrated on the Double Black Diamond. It has about a 21 teeth per inch, meaning that the mountains are smaller, plus they're mountains instead of volcanoes. What that creates is more of like a sticky feeling in terms of the grip, like a Velcro type feeling, whereas Rogue's has less teeth per inch and they're a little bit larger. So I would say that Rogue Ohio Power Bar Volcano Knurling is a little more aggressive than the Double Black Diamond Knurling, and that's my best advice in terms of choosing between the knurling. If you want a little more aggressive, go with the Ohio Power Bar. If you want something a little more sticky and tacky feeling, go with the Double Black Diamond. The last thing I'd mention about knurling for the Rogue Ohio Power Bar is just the quality of it. It is extremely high quality. The endpoints of the knurling are nearly perfect. I didn't find any imperfections with this knurling. And I didn't even learn about imperfections with knurling like double tracking or feathering until a couple years after I had this bar. I was happy to find that none of that really existed with my bar. Rogue comes with a lifetime warranty, and Rogue Fitness at this point is an established enough company that if there was some type of imperfection, I have full confidence that Rogue would help you out and replace your barbell. All of Rogue's barbells are made in the United States, which is a big point of contention for some lifters that want to buy made in USA products. And as I said, Rogue is a trusted company that's been around for quite a while now, so you know that customer service and shipping and all those kind of considerations are going to be on point. That's why I didn't really even speak to much of that with this bar. So then what are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Well, let's go with weaknesses because there really aren't many. As compared to some of the other barbells that are on the market, the pricing is comparable and competitive. And there's several options that I went through in this video with pricing. So between $275 and $415 is going to give a wide range depending on your budget. The other strength in terms of the bar is the quality of craftsmanship. So you're going to have really no disappointments when you buy this barbell, and if you did and there was some type of damage or some type of imperfection, Rogue would probably help you out with that. Aesthetically speaking, the bar is a little lacking compared to some of Rep's barbell improvements. Rep now has some laser etching of and engraving of their logos and different things on the inner side of the collar, whereas Rogue's is pretty bare. There's not much on this bar. They do have a custom line of bars, so if you want to get fancy, Rogue will put like your logo and name on it. That of course includes an upcharge. The end caps, as I mentioned, are getting a little stale. I'm not saying that I want Rogue to completely copy Rep and start doing some laser engraving and start, having some fancy barbell end caps that are embossed. I don't even know what Rep exactly does to those end caps. My suggestion would be a little bit of improvement aesthetically, like you missed a mark with a 10-year anniversary. Last year, 2024, it would have been awesome if Rogue just did something like a tiny 10-year anniversary type thing for the Rogue Ohio Power Bar. Now, as I say that, they did improve on it because my biggest complaint about this bar would just be the axial and radial movement of the sleeve, and they've addressed that. So huge shout out to Rogue for improving on its number one and probably only weakness of this barbell. But what I'm talking about in terms of a slight improvement and something they could do in the future that would be a really small thing would just have like stainless end caps, for example. Yes, stainless steel costs money, but we're talking about a tiny end cap, two of them, one on each. So put out like a stainless end cap with the logo engraved. That would be a slight improvement, and I guarantee you the home gym community would probably enjoy that. Drop a comment now if you think it'd be really cool to have stainless steel end caps on a Rogue Ohio Power Bar. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. I don't know. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of that idea. So who would benefit from this barbell? Well, just about anybody. If you are into Olympic weightlifting, well, then this isn't for you. It's a power bar. And if you're serious about CrossFit, for example, this might not be for you either because it's a power bar. It's got center knurling. It's going to scratch up your neck whenever you're doing any of those like front-loaded type position lifts. But if you're a general purpose lifter, or if you're a power lifter, either one, or if you're a strongman, just about anything besides CrossFit or Olympic weightlifting, this bar is really going to fit well with your training program and be a great addition to your gym. As far as picking up this barbell, if you're going to buy the Rogue Ohio Power Bar or any of the other modern barbells, please head into my description and get into my affiliate links. By using my affiliate links, you're really going to help out the channel, and I appreciate it. If you do use any of my affiliate links, drop me a message, send me an email, and let me know so that I can send you a small thank you gift as a token of appreciation for supporting the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment all that happy stuff because it supports the channel. This is Rob at Vintage Weights PGH.